You ever have that moment where your gut whispers, this isn't right, but your heart begs you to ignore it? I used to think those instincts were for people in thrillers or spy novels, not for a guy like me with a mortgage, 2 Labradors, and a wife who still left love notes in my lunchbox. Or at least, she used to. But something had shifted. Subtle at first, like the moment right before a glass falls off the edge of the table. You sense it, but you convince yourself it's stable. I did that for almost a year. Until I couldn't anymore. Joan and I had been married 8 years. Not all of them great, but enough of them good. We had our routines. Sunday pancakes. Friday night movie marathons. Random dance-offs in the kitchen. I believed in those things. Hell, I lived for those things. The first time I noticed something was off, it was summer. The kind of humid July where the air feels like soup. I was unpacking groceries when Joan walked in, flustered and glowing. She said she'd been at a hot yoga class. I didn't question it, just handed her a bottle of water. But I remember how quickly she wiped off her phone screen when I reached to plug it in for her. That was the first breadcrumb. Then came the perfume. A new one. Something floral and bold, way more noticeable than the soft vanilla she usually wore. She claimed it was a free sample from a coworker. I nodded, smiled, but my gut filed it away. Next came the overtime. Now, Joan's a marketing director at a mid-sized firm. Deadlines happened. Late nights weren't unusual until they became predictable. Every Tuesday and Thursday she stayed late. Always Tuesdays and Thursdays. Always home around 9:45 p.m., just in time to kiss me goodnight. And always with the same tired line, you wouldn't believe how behind we are this quarter. I started believing less and less. What sealed it was a dinner party. It was one of those forced couples nights with her coworkers. Lots of red wine and overpriced charcuterie. That's when I met Eric. Personal trainer. Buff. Too confident. The kind of guy who doesn't just shake your hand. He sizes you up like he's picturing your bench press stats. Joan introduced us too casually. This is Eric. He's been helping me with posture and breathing techniques. Posture and breathing? Come on. He laughed a little too hard at her jokes. Stood a little too close. Touched her lower back when he passed by. And Joan, she lit up like Christmas morning. I caught that look in her eyes. The one she used to reserve for me. Still, I said nothing. Because saying something would mean admitting the possibility. And I wasn't ready. Not yet. So I played the game. Smiled at parties. Posted cute anniversary pictures. Made her coffee just the way she liked it. Oat milk, 1 sugar, stir counterclockwise. All while documenting the cracks. She changed her phone password. She stopped wearing her ring to workouts. She suddenly got passionate about fitness, twice a week, for 2 hours, including showers. And I waited. Not because I was weak, but because I wanted the full picture. You see, I wasn't planning to yell, or cry, or beg her to stay. I was planning to win. Around this time, I called up an old friend. Max used to work in private security, now ran a discreet PI firm out of a dull strip mall. Max, I need eyes, I told him. On Joan. Discreet. Thorough. He didn't ask questions. Just gave me a quote and a warning. Be sure you want the truth, man. Because once you get it, you can't unget it. I already had the truth. I just needed confirmation. A week later, Max sent me a folder. Photos. Dates. Times. Joan. With Eric. In his car. At his gym. Outside a boutique hotel on 4th and Main. Always Tuesdays and Thursdays. There it was. My heart didn't break. Not in the dramatic way people describe. It calcified. Hardened into something cold. I didn't feel like crying. I felt like building something. A strategy. A clean, surgical exit. With fireworks. I wasn't going to confront her in the kitchen. I wasn't going to shout in public. No, Joan would get her moment, and I'd get mine. The idea came while I was walking past an empty storefront downtown. Big, glass walls. High ceilings. For lease sign tilted in the window. I called the number. 6 weeks later, I signed the papers. I'd quietly been investing in a chain of boutique gyms. Not flashy. Just smart, modern, profitable. And this new location? Smack in the middle of town. 5 blocks from Eric's overpriced bro dojo. I put together a launch team. Designed the brand. Kept my name out of it. Nobody, not even Joan, knew I was involved. Every night, I played the same role, the loving husband. I massaged her shoulders when she said she was sore. I nodded along when she claimed she was mentoring a new hire. I listened. And I plotted. Because revenge, my friend, is like baking. Best when served with precision. I woke up early the next Thursday. Joan was still asleep, her hair tangled over her pillow like nothing had changed. I stood there a minute, watching her. You ever look at someone and not recognize them anymore? Like all the shared memories get replaced with one flashing word. Liar. I made breakfast like usual: eggs, toast, fresh coffee. She came into the kitchen like it was any other day, kissed my cheek, and smiled. Big meetings today? I asked casually. Yeah, she said, her voice breezy. Probably a late one. Of course it is. She left around 8:30. I watched her car disappear down the road, then picked up my phone. Max's voice came through, low and steady. You ready for it? I'm done waiting. He sent me the video files. I didn't watch them immediately. I couldn't. Not because I was afraid of what I'd see, but because I already knew. I needed to be methodical, cold, focused. Instead, I opened the finances, bank statements, investment accounts, joint credit cards. Over the past few months, Joan had been slowly increasing charges to personal development. I traced the payments: luxury fitness gear, weekend hotel stays, expensive dinners. But here's where it gets wild. One charge stood out. A payment to ValorFit Ventures. That was my shell company, the holding firm behind the gym chain. She'd unknowingly paid into my business, probably thinking it was some wellness brand Eric recommended. I almost laughed. The irony was too delicious. Then came the final step, involving Eric. See, while Joan was busy thinking I was the naive husband, I was setting up a legal framework. I had my lawyers draft a bulletproof clause. All trainers employed in the ValorFit network must disclose any romantic involvement with clients. Violation equals immediate termination. No severance. Guess who signed that policy without reading the fine print? That evening, Joan came home smelling like wine and peppermint. Said her meeting had gone long, apologized with a kiss and a giggle. I smiled. Not bitter. Just done. The next morning, I told her I was heading out of town for a few days, scouting new investment opportunities. She barely reacted. Probably glad I was leaving. Good. I wasn't leaving, though. I booked into a suite at the Marriott across town and got to work. The grand opening was in 3 weeks. Everything needed to be perfect. Eric was already confirmed as a guest. Joan, too, she'd RSVP'd through a friend of mine, thinking it was an influencer-only event. The brand was too new for her to suspect my involvement. Perfect. Over the next few days, I tightened every bolt in the plan. Finalized guest lists. Arranged press coverage. Booked a photographer and videographer. If Joan was going to get exposed, it was going to be cinematic. I even rehearsed my speech. That Friday, Joan texted from the office. Can't wait to see you this weekend. Need some downtime. Miss you. Miss me? With Eric probably still buttoning his shirt 2 feet away? I almost replied. Almost. But I wanted the reveal to sting. Bad. So I just sent. Same here. Love you. The mask held. For now. If you were to look at me from the outside over the next 2 weeks, you wouldn't have noticed much difference. I still smiled. Still texted Joan good night. Still went to the gym. Still watered the plants. But everything I did now was calculated, not for her, but for me. I'd entered what I called the ghost phase. Not the haunting kind. The quiet, vanishing kind. I was becoming invisible in my own life, but by choice. Every move was a step away from the version of me that had loved blindly. Every word, a piece of the old script discarded. I needed her to think everything was still normal. And I needed time. The first thing I did was close our joint credit cards. Oh, weird, Joan said one morning. My gym membership got declined. Can you check with the bank? Probably a glitch, I replied, sipping coffee. I'll look into it. I didn't. I moved all my investment accounts under a trust. Rerouted my direct deposits. Disconnected her email from any of my platforms. She didn't notice. Or didn't want to. Either worked in my favor. At night, while she slept, I backed up everything. Photos. Messages. GPS pings from her iCloud. I created a timeline so detailed it would make a detective proud. I didn't plan to use it in court. This wasn't about legal victory. It was about control. About reclaiming what had been stolen from me one lie at a time. I started slipping out earlier in the mornings, pretending I had new projects downtown. Truth was, I was setting up the new gym's final details, hiring staff, staging equipment, coaching the PR team. I'd never felt more alive. Funny, isn't it? How betrayal can become fuel if you let it. Meanwhile, Joan was still blissfully unaware. Still coming home late. Still mentoring until 9:45. Still using my shampoo, that little bottle I'd filled with dye that would tint her hair ever so slightly blue under UV light. She didn't notice, but I did. Her hair glowed blue in one of Max's surveillance shots. A UV lamp near the hotel entrance picked it up. Another breadcrumb. She thought she was the spider. She didn't realize I'd built the web. Midweek, I had dinner with Max. He slid an envelope across the table. You ready to end it? I shook my head. I want her to end it first. He raised a brow. I want her to feel like she's winning, I said. Right before she realizes the trophy is rigged. He grinned. Cold. No. Clear. By now, the gym was nearly complete. Soft lighting. Exposed brick. Branding clean and aspirational. We scheduled a soft launch for VIPs. Sent invitations with influencer tags. Joan's name was there, courtesy of one of my contacts in her PR circle. She was thrilled. This new place ValorFit looks amazing, she told me one night. They're hosting a private party before the grand opening. I got invited. Guess all my wellness posts paid off. I smiled. You deserve it. She kissed me like everything was okay. It almost made me sad. Almost. That weekend, I visited my parents. Told them about the gym, not the betrayal. Not yet. They'd always worried I played life too safe. This time, I wanted to show them I could build something on my own. They were proud. It reminded me who I was before Joan. Before the lies. On the drive home, I passed Eric's gym. Empty parking lot. Rusted signage. He didn't know it yet, but competition was about to bury him. Poetic. He took my wife. I'd take his livelihood. Sunday evening, Joan suggested we go out. New wine bar downtown. My treat. I agreed. She dressed up, high heels, red lipstick, the works. Maybe she was trying to soothe the guilt. Or maybe she wanted to post a photo for appearances. We sat at a patio table, candles flickering. She reached for my hand. I know I've been distant lately, she said softly. Work's just been a lot. I nodded, studying her face. Looking for a crack. I think we should take a trip, she continued. Reconnect. Maybe Tulum again. Tulum. Where we'd honeymooned. Where I'd once promised to love her forever. Sounds perfect, I said. I'm in it too, just not for the reasons she thought. That trip would be our last. And her fall, spectacular. They say success is the best revenge. I disagree. Preparation is the best revenge, because when you've set every domino with precision, the fall becomes inevitable. Joan still thought she was ahead. That I was in the dark. That she'd pulled off the perfect con. And honestly, I let her believe it. That was part of the thrill. The invitation to the grand opening went out the next week. Branded envelopes, black matte with gold lettering. Inside, VIP access passes and a sleek card. Welcome to ValorFit. Change begins here. Joan found hers on the kitchen counter one morning. Did you leave this here? She asked, holding it up. I looked over my coffee. What is it? She read it. Her eyes lit up. Oh wow, it's from that new gym. I must have gotten on their influencer list. I played dumb. Nice. Looks fancy. She tucked it into her purse, humming. I'll give her this. She was good at lying. But I was better. Meanwhile, Eric had been assigned to our gym's outreach partners list through a shell offer. We'd offered him a spot as a guest trainer, dangling the opportunity like a worm on a hook. Of course, he bit. He didn't know he'd signed away his right to any payout, or that his invitation was bait. My legal team prepped termination letters. Everything was lining up. I even got our DJ to remix Joan's favorite playlist, the one she used to blast in the kitchen when she cooked. Just for irony. It would be playing when she walked into ValorFit for the first time. 3 days before the launch, I tested the sound system, lighting, and scent diffusers. The place smelled like eucalyptus and lemon verbena. Clean. Sharp. Like a fresh start. Joan walked into the house that night with 2 wine bottles. Celebration, she said, winking. To my new wellness journey. Here's to your journey, I replied, clinking glasses. She had no idea. I almost felt bad. Almost. Launch day. I wore a tailored gray suit, no tie, sleeves slightly rolled. Understated confidence. The kind of look that says, I built this, without having to say it. The team was buzzing. Cameras were set. Catering arrived. Every little detail from the entrance sent to the signage font had been approved by me. My fingerprints were everywhere, invisibly. Eric arrived early. Tight shirt, fresh tan, the smugness of a man who thinks he's finally made it. Joan came an hour later, in a sleek black dress, clutching a designer bag. Her smile said everything. She thought this was her world now. She didn't recognize me at first. I was behind the curtain, headset on, adjusting lighting for the stage. Then I stepped out, and everything changed. The host took the mic. Tonight, we celebrate innovation, health, and transformation. Please welcome the visionary behind ValorFit. I walked on stage. Lights hit me. Cameras clicked. Joan froze. Eric's mouth dropped open. Good evening, I began, voice steady. ValorFit isn't just a gym. It's a philosophy. A commitment to integrity, strength, and starting over. I looked straight at them. Tonight, I'm making a fresh start. Gasps. Murmurs. I paused. Then, Joan, thank you for coming. You've always inspired me to be better. Eric. I turned. You're fired. Silence. Then a low wave of whispers. Phones rose. Joan blinked like she'd been slapped. Eric turned red. I stepped back, letting the moment linger. Then walked off stage. Let them stand there. Let the truth soak the floor. I didn't look back. That night, I checked into a new condo I'd quietly purchased weeks earlier. Modern, minimalist, with wide windows and silence. Peace. No more lies. Just the quiet breath of a life I'd reclaimed. I didn't sleep much that night, not from stress, but from a strange electric calm. Like the storm had passed and all that remained was the stillness. Joan and Eric had been publicly exposed, and everything I'd spent months constructing had landed with surgical precision. But the game wasn't over yet. Because revealing betrayal is only the first act. Act 2 is watching them try to rebuild what they destroyed, without realizing the foundation is gone. The next morning, I woke up in my new condo. Sunlight spilled through the tall windows, hitting the pale wood floors like warm silk. I made coffee, black and bitter, just how I liked it now. It tasted like control. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Joan. We need to talk. Please. I didn't know. I didn't mean. I ignored it. An hour later, another came. You humiliated me. What the hell is wrong with you? We can still fix this. Just talk to me. Still nothing from me. Radio silence is more powerful than any scream. That afternoon, I met with my legal team. We finalized the divorce paperwork. Everything was already in place. I'd separated our finances, documented her infidelity, and moved all my major assets into the trust. She wouldn't see a dime more than what the prenup allowed. And because of the evidence, the photos, the video, the timing, even that prenup would hold strong. The lawyer slid the final packet across the table. You've built one hell of a case. No, I said. I built an escape route. He nodded. Cold. No, I said again. Clear. Meanwhile, the buzz around the ValorFit launch hadn't died down. Social media exploded. Clips from the event went viral. Influencers were dissecting the drama like a true crime podcast. Joan became the subject of speculation. Eric deactivated his social accounts within 48 hours. She tried to spin it. Posted vague stories about betrayal and healing. Nobody bought it. Her glow had dimmed. Her shine turned toxic. A week later, I ran into one of our old mutual friends, a guy named Derek. He owned a photography studio and had always been neutral. He clapped me on the back. Man, I don't know what happened, but damn, that was legendary. I shrugged. Just needed to end a chapter. He laughed. You didn't just end it. You turned the last page into a firework display. That weekend, I went out. Not to party. Just to exist again. To feel the air on my face and not wonder who was lying to me. I sat at a small rooftop lounge. Ordered bourbon. Watched the city breathe. A woman asked if the seat next to me was taken. She wasn't flashy. Just grounded. Confident without needing to prove anything. We talked. Not about exes. Not about pain. Just music. Travel. Life. Her name was Elise. She had a laugh that didn't ask for attention. It just arrived, honest and full. And for the first time in months, I felt human again. Not betrayed. Not broken. Just me. In the days following the ValorFit launch, Joan's world didn't collapse in a single dramatic explosion. No, it eroded quietly, precisely. Like slow acid working on the foundation of everything she thought she'd built. And the irony? She couldn't trace the source. Because the storm she was caught in wore my fingerprints, but invisibly. It began, as most undoings do, with silence. I ignored every text, every voicemail. I didn't read her long email titled, "Please, just hear me." I didn't have to. I already knew the contents. Regret, justification, blame, desperation, confusion, the full cycle of someone who's just now realizing the cost of betrayal. She didn't want me back. She wanted her comfort back, her stability, her control. But control was mine now. That week, her social media turned subdued. No more selfies at brunch. No gym check-ins. No motivational quotes with flowery fonts. Just silence, the new soundtrack of her life. But I was only just starting. You see, I hadn't just planned her public embarrassment. That would have been too quick. My real masterpiece was in letting her unravel herself. One consequence at a time. A slow realization that everything she'd leveraged, her image, her influence, her network, was crumbling. And that the very man she had deceived had quietly rearranged the chessboard. I knew her world. I'd been her shadow in it for a decade. I knew every brand she'd courted, every executive she bragged about impressing. And through careful conversations, subtle redirections, I made sure that her name now raised eyebrows rather than praise. I wasn't cruel. I was methodical. I knew she had 2 endorsement deals pending. So I quietly contacted an old friend in marketing at one of those companies. I didn't slander, just asked thoughtful questions. Hey, is your influencer team doing full vetting now? There have been some concerning ethics rumors in that circle lately. That's all it took. The deal went cold. Eric, meanwhile, was spiraling faster. Word had spread in the trainer community about how he was fired live at a launch party. His client base dropped. No one wanted to be trained by the guy from the video. Within 2 weeks, he shut down his private sessions. 3 weeks later, he was spotted bartending at a hotel downtown. One of Max's contacts sent me the photo. I didn't laugh, just saved it in a folder labeled Consequences. Joan, of course, had already dropped him. Classic narcissist reflex. When a tool breaks, you throw it away. But what she hadn't realized is that she no longer had tools left. Her network had dried up. No one answered her calls. The wellness community she'd relied on for status ghosted her. I continued building my new life. ValorFit had become a symbol, not just for fitness, but for reinvention. My quiet campaign of sincerity and consistency made it clear. I wasn't a man scorned. I was a man reborn. That image resonated. Our membership tripled within the first month. I gave interviews, never gloating, always focused on new beginnings. Even journalists picked up on the tone. One blog titled their article, From Betrayed to Boss, the man behind ValorFit's viral moment. Through it all, Elise remained present. She didn't pry, didn't pressure. She just sat with me when I needed quiet, laughed when I forgot how, and made space where I once had wounds. One evening, we made dinner together at her place. Nothing fancy, just pasta and red wine. As we cleaned up, she said softly, I don't need to know the whole story. Just tell me if you're okay. I looked at her. I am now, I said. And I meant it. The final piece of the puzzle arrived on a Thursday morning. A handwritten letter in my mailbox. From Joan. Pages and pages of half apologies, pleading, justifications, memories. She admitted Eric had used her. That she missed us. That she wanted to rebuild, not for money, not for image, but because she finally saw the truth. I read it once, then fed it, page by page, into the shredder. Closure doesn't come from the person who hurt you. It comes from knowing they can no longer touch you. That weekend, I stood in the mirror, buttoning a clean shirt. I looked lighter, not because I lost weight, but because I'd shed a burden I didn't know I was carrying. Elise called from the hallway. Ready for brunch? I smiled. More than ever. The day I officially closed the chapter on my marriage started like any other, coffee, a long run, and silence. But under it all, a tension, a hum in my bones. Not nerves, not regret. Just the weight of knowing this moment had been years in the making. The courthouse sat on a quiet street, tucked between rows of brick and glass. I arrived early, as I always did. Punctuality is about respect to others, and sometimes to yourself. I needed this moment to be clean, controlled. Joan was late. I waited in the cold hallway, watching the second hand tick around a cheap clock bolted above the bailiff's desk. At 9:12 a.m., she walked in. No makeup, no curled hair, no designer bag. Just Joan, raw and stripped of her armor. She looked at me, paused, opened her mouth, said nothing. We sat on opposite benches. My attorney nodded at me. We're good. Judge has everything. This'll be quick. I nodded, not because I was ready, but because I had to be. The hearing was mechanical. A process. Do you, Jonathan Hughes, agree to the terms presented in this final agreement? Yes. Do you, Joan Hughes, agree as well? A pause. A visible swallow. Yes. And with that, It was done. 10 years. Gone in 17 minutes. The judge barely looked at us. Another case, another set of broken promises. But I wasn't broken. Not anymore. We walked out in silence. I took the stairs. Joan stayed behind. Maybe to breathe. Maybe to cry. Maybe just to delay the inevitable truth. She no longer had a role in my life. I stepped into the cold air. It bit my skin, and I welcomed it. The world hadn't changed. But I had. I drove out of the city. I needed space. Not for grief, but for reflection. A small coastal town a few hours away had always been a place of peace for me. I booked a last-minute room at a simple inn. White walls, creaky floorboards, salt in the air. I spent 2 nights there. Walked the beach. Talked to no one. Just listened. To the waves, to the gulls, to the voice inside me that finally sounded calm. I remembered how I once thought marriage was the safest investment a man could make. That trust, once earned, was unbreakable. But now I knew better. Trust wasn't earned once. It was earned again and again. And when it's broken, it doesn't come back. When I returned, Elise was waiting. Not at my door, but in spirit. She'd left a note at my condo. I made tea. When you're ready, I'll be here. If not, that's okay too. I smiled. She didn't want to save me. Just stand beside me. I texted her. I'm ready. Come over. That night, we didn't talk about Joan. Not once. We made dinner. Watched an old movie. Fell asleep to the sound of rain. And when I woke up, it was the first morning in years I didn't check my phone for damage control. Over the next few weeks, I began reshaping my life. Valor Fit wasn't just a brand anymore. It was a mission. We launched a mental health initiative. Partnered with local schools, hosted workshops on resilience and rebuilding. People came not just to sweat, but to heal. And I led by example. I started speaking publicly, shared my journey, not the salacious parts, but the lessons. How betrayal doesn't end you unless you let it. How recovery isn't about revenge, but about release. One night after a seminar, a young guy approached me, mid-20s, nervous. My fiancée cheated, he said. I was going to take her back. But then, I heard your story. You made me realize I deserved better. We shook hands. That mattered. In the spring, I received a message from an old college friend. He was getting married. Invited me. I brought Elise. She wore a simple navy dress. Hair up. That same smile that didn't try too hard and didn't have to. We danced. Ate cake. Watched the stars. At one point, a woman asked us how long we'd been together. Elise smiled. Long enough to know it's real. Not long enough to explain it. And that was perfect. Months passed. Joan never reached out again. Eric vanished from social media. Whatever their lives looked like now, it wasn't my concern. My concern was the man I'd become. Not bitter. Not cynical. Just aware. Grateful. I learned that love is not possession. It's presence. It's not about holding on. It's about showing up. And Elise? She kept showing up. Every day. In the small ways that mattered. Coffee ready on hard mornings. A hand on mine during long meetings. Laughter when I forgot how. She didn't fix me. She reminded me I was never broken. And that, my friends, is how I lost everything I thought I needed and found everything I actually did.